People say the line between love and hate is thin. I didn't believe that, until the moment the woman I planned to marry raised her hand and slapped me in front of a man I barely knew. 1 second, I was standing on the sidewalk outside Bellman's cafe, flowers in hand, heart in my throat. The next, my cheek was stinging, and the world had gone deathly quiet. "Don't cause a scene, Ethan," she'd hissed, like I was the one embarrassing her. Like I was the outsider. I wish I could say I saw it coming. That there were signs, red flags, whispers of betrayal I ignored. But the truth? I was a fool, hopelessly in love with a woman who had already checked out of the relationship months ago. Only, she didn't leave quietly. She waited until I caught her with him. And when I asked, "Why him, Lauren?" that slap was her answer. Not regret. Not guilt. Just rage that I'd dared interrupt her new beginning. It's been 3 months since that day. 3 months since I deleted her number, blocked her from every part of my life, phone, email, social media, even memory, if that were possible. But memories have a cruel way of lingering. And so does betrayal. I've moved cities now. Changed jobs. Switched gyms. But I still remember the look in her eyes, not of sorrow or shame, but annoyance, like I had betrayed her. Maybe this is what it means to truly fall out of love. Not when the heartbreak sets in. But when you finally realize the person you loved never really existed. My name is Ethan Walker. And this is the story of how I turned love into silence, and her into a stranger. Main characters introduced: Lauren Bennett, ex-girlfriend, Mason Cole, her new lover, and Ethan's best friend Tyler Green. Lauren Bennett walked into my life like she owned it. We met at a marketing seminar in Denver 4 years ago. I remember spotting her across the conference room, her dark green eyes scanning the brochures like they held some hidden code. She looked sharp, curious, fearless. And when she caught me staring, she didn't look away, she smiled. We got drinks after the event. She told me she worked in branding, had just transferred from Chicago, and that she hated the taste of beer but drank it anyway to feel less judged. I told her I liked classic rock, hiking in silence, and that I preferred people who didn't fake smile through life. She raised her glass and said, "Then you'll hate me by Friday." But I didn't. I loved her by Sunday. Lauren wasn't like anyone I'd dated before. She was driven, unapologetically ambitious, and always 10 steps ahead of everyone else. Being with her felt like being pulled into orbit, exciting, fast, dizzying. I was the stable one, the listener, the planner. She was chaos and color and wild charm. Everyone warned me. My best friend Tyler even sat me down one night over whiskey and said, "Man, I get it, she's electric. But she's also dangerous. She looks at people like she's deciding if they're useful." But I brushed it off. Tyler was just being protective, I thought. He'd seen me pick up the pieces from the last girl who cheated on me. I thought he was being paranoid. Then Mason Cole entered the picture. He was Lauren's colleague from a new ad agency that partnered with her firm. Tall, charming, always overdressed. I met him once at a work dinner. He shook my hand like he was already planning to steal something from me. I didn't like the way he looked at her. Or how she laughed at his jokes that weren't even funny. But again, I told myself it was nothing. That Lauren loved me. That we'd make it through anything. We shared an apartment for 2 years. Built routines, inside jokes, playlists. Planned trips. Talked about getting a dog. Even ring shopping, once. She said she wasn't in a rush. Said we still had time. Funny how time ran out the day I found them outside that cafe. The same spot where we'd celebrated her last birthday with carrot cake and cider. The way she stood beside Mason that day, it wasn't casual. It wasn't work-related. It was intimate. And when I called her out, her response wasn't denial or apology. It was fury. Like I was the one out of place. Like he was her real life now. And I was just an old page she forgot to tear out. That was the day I realized. Lauren didn't just betray me. She rewrote me out of her story. It was supposed to be a surprise. She'd been distant for weeks, canceling plans, answering my calls with that clipped tone she used when something was off but didn't want to talk about it. Still, I told myself she was just stressed. Maybe it was work. Maybe she needed space. So I planned something simple. A Saturday morning visit to Bellman's Cafe, our old spot. A bouquet of her favorite tulips in one hand, and in the other, a small navy blue box. Not a ring, but a key. To a cabin I'd booked for us in the Rockies. Just a weekend to unplug, talk, and maybe find our way back to each other. I should have known better. As I rounded the corner near the cafe, I saw her immediately. Lauren, dressed in that gray coat she wore when she wanted to impress someone but still look effortless. Her hair pulled back, gold earrings catching the morning light. And beside her, Mason Cole. He had his hand on the small of her back. She didn't flinch. Didn't pull away. In fact, she leaned in, laughing, like it was the most natural thing in the world. My feet moved before my brain did. I crossed the street, heart pounding, tulips shaking in my hand. "Lauren," I called. She turned. Her smile vanished. "What is this?" I asked, voice low but sharp. "What's he doing here?" Mason didn't say a word. Just smirked, like he'd already won. Lauren stepped between us, eyes blazing. "Don't do this, Ethan," she snapped. "Not here. I'm not doing anything." "You are." "What is this?" "You're embarrassing yourself," she hissed, and then it happened. The slap. Hard. Fast. Public. I staggered back, not from the force, but from the message it sent. That I was no longer someone she cared to protect. No longer someone she even respected. "Leave," she said coldly, turning back to him. And just like that, I wasn't her boyfriend anymore. I wasn't anything. I dropped the tulips in the trash on the way home. And that night, I blocked her from my life. Phone. Email. Photos. Everything. She wanted me gone. Fine. She'd get exactly what she asked for. For the first few days, I couldn't breathe. Blocking her should have felt like taking control. Like drawing a line in the sand. But it just felt empty. Every time my phone buzzed, I hoped it was her. Even though I knew she couldn't reach me anymore. I kept checking my email like some part of her would break through the walls I built and say, "I'm sorry. It was a mistake. Let's fix this." But she didn't. She never did. The silence spoke louder than anything she could have said. Tyler, my best friend, showed up with beer and bad jokes a few days later. He didn't even wait for me to speak before saying, "I told you she was toxic, man. But I didn't think she'd humiliate you like that." I didn't want to hear it. Not because he was wrong, but because he was right. That was the beginning of the unraveling. Everything reminded me of her. The throw blanket she insisted we buy. The Spotify playlists with her favorite moody indie songs. The box of notes and Polaroids shoved in the top drawer of my desk, ones I couldn't bring myself to burn yet. And then came the rage. Not the kind that explodes, but the slow, cold kind. The one that builds under your skin like frostbite. The more I thought about it, the more I realized she hadn't just cheated. She had prepared for it. The withdrawal. The excuses. The late meetings and dead batteries. It wasn't random. It was systematic. She eased me out of her world like a project timeline. And I'd been so stupidly in love that I ignored every sign. It hurt in ways I didn't know love could. Not just because she picked someone else, but because I thought I mattered more. Because I believed we were real. I tried to function. Tried to move forward. Went to work. Smiled when clients cracked jokes. Attended meetings. But I was a ghost in my own life. Until one night, I saw them. Lauren and Mason. On Instagram. She'd unblocked me. Or maybe it was a friend of hers who forgot to keep it private. There they were, at the cabin. My cabin. The one I'd rented for us. She went anyway. With him. Same date. Same booking. They even took photos in front of the fire pit I was supposed to light. It wasn't just betrayal anymore. It was erasure. She didn't just replace me, she replicated everything we were and gave it to him. That night, I stared at the screen for hours. Not crying. Not angry. Just, hollow. I don't know what broke inside me exactly, but something shifted. I opened a new browser tab. Updated my resume. I quit my job the next day and accepted a remote offer from a firm based in Portland. Packed my things. Left the apartment we'd shared. Switched gyms, deleted mutual friends, left every group chat. Moved out of the city entirely. People called it a meltdown. Said I was being dramatic. But it wasn't about escaping her. It was about reclaiming myself. Because if I stayed, I'd always be surrounded by her shadow. Always running into memories we didn't share anymore. Always seeing her ghost in every corner of my life. But I didn't want to carry ghosts. I wanted peace. The kind that comes when you choose yourself over the person who never really did. It happened 6 weeks after I moved to Portland. I'd started running in the mornings, no music, just pavement and breath. It cleared my head. Helped me forget. One morning, I stopped at a local cafe for coffee. The barista handed me my drink with a crooked smile and said, "Hey, I think you dropped this." She handed me a small, square card I didn't recognize. It was a loyalty punch card. But scrawled on the back in a familiar handwriting were 4 words. "You blocked me." Why? My stomach dropped. Lauren. Somehow, she'd found me. Or maybe she'd never stopped trying. I flipped the card over again. My heart pounded as memories rushed back, her handwriting on notes she'd leave on the fridge, or on sticky notes in my books. Why now? Why after all this time? I tossed the card in the trash, walked out, tried to breathe. But that night, curiosity got the best of me. I reactivated an old email account we used to share calendar invites on. There it was, an unread message, sent just 3 days ago. Subject: was it really that easy for you? No apology. No explanation. Just 6 paragraphs of passive-aggressive guilt. She asked why I disappeared, if I'd ever really loved her, and then, ironically, if I was happy with myself. But what struck me most? She never once said she regretted cheating. Never said Mason's name. Never addressed the slap. She still saw herself as the victim. That was when it clicked. Lauren didn't miss me. She missed control. She couldn't stand that I'd walked away and never looked back. And for the first time since everything happened, I smiled. Because I realized. She didn't break me. She just set me free. After reading her email, I didn't respond. Not out of spite, but because I didn't owe her anything. For the first time, I wasn't operating from pain or confusion. I was operating from clarity. And yet, silence has power. Sometimes more than words. A week later, she called from a new number. I declined. She texted, "Please. Just 5 minutes." I didn't block her. Not this time. She kept messaging over the next few days, first polite, then pleading, then furious. Tyler called after a few of her texts hit his phone too. She's spiraling, he said. You know she hates losing control. I'm not getting dragged back in, I told him. But the truth? Her reaching out stirred something. Not longing, not anymore. But curiosity. What does someone like Lauren do when they can't spin the narrative? When the person they discarded walks away, and never comes back. Then came the voicemail. I know I hurt you, Ethan. I made mistakes. But you don't just throw away 4 years. I'm sorry for how it ended, but we were something. You can't deny that. There it was again. How it ended. As if she tripped and accidentally slapped me in public. As if she made a mistake instead of systematically choosing someone else. I stared at my phone and realized, she never truly saw me as an equal. I was a backdrop in the drama of her life. A supporting role in the Lauren Bennett show. And now the audience was gone. Still, I let the silence linger. No reply. 2 days later, I got a call from a mutual friend, Ava. She worked in PR at Lauren's firm. She's falling apart, Ethan, Ava said. I probably shouldn't say this, but Mason left her last week. She's been out sick. People say she's barely holding it together. That should have felt satisfying. Karma. Justice. Whatever word people use for cosmic payback. But it didn't. All I felt was distance. Lauren no longer lived in my world. And her crumbling one wasn't mine to rescue. Still, part of me wondered why I felt so numb. Not triumphant. Not angry. Just, detached. And that's when I realized, I'd outgrown her. The version of me that had loved Lauren, that version lived in another life. One where I let my worth hang on her affection. Where I waited for love that came with conditions. That version died outside Bellman's cafe the day she slapped me. What lived now was something stronger. Wiser. I wasn't healed completely. Healing isn't a switch, it's a slow, bitter burn. But I was rebuilding. Quietly. With purpose. Work was going well. I'd landed 2 big accounts and started leading client pitches again. My boss called me razor-focused, and I knew why, because pain, once processed, becomes fuel. And something else had changed. I'd started dating again. Nothing serious. Just coffees. Casual dinners. Light conversations that didn't carry the weight of history or betrayal. But with each date, I felt less haunted. More present. Less afraid to trust again. Then one day, I saw her name pop up on my phone again. Another new number. Lauren Bennett is persistent, I thought. But this time, the message wasn't a plea. It was a picture. Of us. From 2 years ago. At a lake up north. I was holding her hand, half soaked from slipping into the water. She had that wild laugh on her face, the one I used to love. We looked happy. We were real, she wrote beneath it. Don't pretend you didn't feel it too. And maybe she was right. Maybe we were real. For a while. But real doesn't mean forever. And love doesn't excuse cruelty. So I replied, finally. Just one line. You were real to me. Until you made me feel invisible. I hit send. That was it. The closure I never thought I'd get. Not because she gave it to me, but because I gave it to myself. The next morning, I blocked her again. Not out of anger. Out of peace. Because people like Lauren thrive on keeping the wound open. They poke it, dress it up, pretend to clean it, just so you'll keep bleeding for them. But I was done bleeding. 2 weeks later, I ran into Mason. It was at a conference downtown. He was speaking on some panel about branding trust in modern markets. The irony nearly choked me. He didn't recognize me at first. But after his talk, he saw me near the refreshments and walked over. "You're Ethan, right?" I nodded. He gave a short, awkward smile. "Didn't expect to see you here." "Small world." I just sipped my drink. "Isn't it?" He hesitated. "Look, about, what happened?" "With Lauren." "I didn't know it would turn out like that." I raised an eyebrow. "You mean the part where you slept with someone in a relationship and then dumped her after?" He flushed. "I didn't mean to." "It's fine," I said, cutting him off. "You did me a favor." He blinked. "I'd rather be slapped in public than stabbed in the back slowly. So, thanks for speeding it up." And I walked away. Not out of spite. Out of freedom. It happened on a rainy Thursday. I was leaving a client meeting downtown, umbrella tucked under my arm, suit damp from the sprint across the parking lot. I just wanted to get home, make dinner, maybe start that book Tyler had been pushing on me for weeks. But fate had other plans. She was standing by my car. Lauren. Soaked, shivering, mascara streaked down her cheeks like war paint. I froze. For a second, I thought I was imagining her. But then she turned, and those green eyes met mine, bloodshot, tired, desperate. "Ethan," she breathed, like she hadn't said my name aloud in months. "What are you doing here?" I asked flatly. She tried to smile, but it crumbled. I didn't know where else to go. "You could have gone anywhere else," I replied, stepping past her toward my door. "Please don't shut me out again," she whispered. "Just give me 5 minutes. That's all I'm asking." 5 minutes. She'd said that in her text weeks ago. Funny how 5 minutes is all it takes to destroy or rebuild something. But I wasn't sure which she had in mind. I unlocked the car but didn't get in. "Talk." She hesitated, biting her lip. "I messed everything up." I thought. I don't know what I thought. Mason made me feel seen. "You were so steady, so good, I thought maybe I needed something else. Something exciting." I stared at her, rain pattering between us. "And how'd that work out?" Her lip trembled. "He used me. Left the second things got hard. You were the only one who ever really," her voice cracked. "Who ever really stayed." I waited for the apology. For the part where she'd admit what she did, own it fully. But it never came. Just more self-pity. More regret painted in the colors of longing. "I'm not here to hurt you again," she continued. I see things clearly now. I see you clearly now. I was blind, Ethan." I crossed my arms. "No, you weren't blind. You were selfish. You made a choice. Multiple choices, actually. And not once did you look back, until it all fell apart." Tears welled up in her eyes. "I know. I know I don't deserve anything from you. But I'm asking anyway, is there any part of you that still loves me?" That question. The one I used to ask myself at 2 a.m. when her ghost still haunted my apartment. The one I used to scream into my pillow, wondering how love could flip so violently. Now. It didn't even sting. I stepped forward slightly. Close enough to let her see the calm in my eyes. "I did love you," I said. "With everything I had. I would have given you the world, Lauren. But you took my heart and gave it to someone else without blinking. You didn't just cheat. You made me feel small. Replaceable. Worth less than whatever thrill you were chasing." She sobbed, rain dripping from her chin. "I hate myself for it." "I don't," I replied. "Because I stopped carrying your guilt." Her eyes widened. "I let it go," I said, voice steady. "All of it. The betrayal, the slap, the silence after. You don't get to own any more of my peace. That belongs to me now." I didn't mean to hurt you, she choked out. But you did. And you never tried to fix it until it broke you, I said coldly. She stepped back like I'd slapped her this time. But I didn't apologize. This was the truth she'd avoided all along. And if you came here hoping I'd take you back, hoping I'd be the same man waiting with open arms? I paused. You're too late. Her breath hitched. So that's it? I opened the car door. That's it. She watched me sit down, watched the engine roar to life. Her face blurred behind the mist on my window. As I pulled away, I didn't look back. Because this time, the one walking away, was me. They say time heals all wounds, but I don't think that's true. Time only gives you distance, what you do with that distance is what makes the difference. For me, I stopped using time to wait. And started using it to rebuild. After that rainy night, Lauren never reached out again. Maybe she finally understood there was no door left to knock on. Or maybe she just needed someone else to lean on, someone new to pull into her orbit. Either way, it didn't matter. She no longer occupied space in my mind the way she once had. The weight I'd been carrying for months, the confusion, the anger, the ache, it lifted. Quietly. Without ceremony. I began to focus on me. I joined a photography class, something I'd always wanted to try but never had time for when my life revolved around someone else's whims. I started volunteering at a shelter on weekends, walking dogs and cleaning kennels, small things, but things that made me feel human again. Tyler visited once a month. We'd grab beers and laugh like we used to, and every now and then, he'd raise a brow and say, "You're different now. Lighter." And he was right. I was no longer the man who bent himself to be enough for someone else. I was becoming someone who could be enough for himself. I thought for a long time that I needed closure from Lauren. But closure isn't something someone else gives you, it's something you choose. You close the chapter. You put the pen down. You stop rereading the same paragraph, hoping it'll change. Lauren will always be part of my story. But she's not the whole story. Not anymore. I eventually met someone new. Her name's Jenna. She's kind, thoughtful, soft-spoken, but honest. Real in a way Lauren never was. We started slow. I told her everything, my mistakes, my baggage, my fear of being made to feel small again. She listened. Not to respond. Just to understand. And in that silence, I found more healing than I ever thought possible. One night, I told her about Bellman's Cafe. About the slap. The tulips in the trash. She didn't pity me. She just took my hand and said, "You didn't deserve that. But I'm glad you walked away." So am I. I used to think heartbreak was the end of something beautiful. But now I see it differently. It's the start of remembering who you were before you forgot your worth. And who you could become when you finally choose yourself. Sometimes, I still walk past cafes with couples inside, lost in each other, hands brushing over warm mugs. I catch snippets of laughter, shared glances, the kind of love that once made me believe anything was possible. And I smile, not because I miss it, but because I survived it. I think back to that moment outside Bellman's Cafe, the sting of her hand, the weight of her indifference, the way the world fell out from under me in an instant. It could have defined me. But instead, it refined me. Pain, as cruel as it is, becomes a mirror. It shows you who you were, what you allowed, and what you'll never accept again. Lauren taught me that. Not through love, but through loss. Because the truth is, real love never slaps you in public and walks away with someone else. Real love doesn't need to humiliate you to grow. And anyone who asks why you left after betrayal, never really cared you were there to begin with. I look at who I am now, stronger, quieter, more certain. I don't chase ghosts anymore. I don't answer numbers I don't recognize. And I don't keep the door open for people who burned the house down. Lauren went from my lover to a stranger. And I've made peace with that. She was a chapter. But I'm writing the rest of the story without her. And this time, the man at the center of it, he knows his worth. My name is Ethan Walker. And I didn't just block her from my phone. I blocked her from my future. And for the first time in a long time, I'm finally free.